my wonderful Madison High School students, and welcome to week 9. We're at the midway point, and I'm actually really excited. I get a chance to look at your midpoint conferences and give you all some feedback on how you're doing. So I'm really excited to do that. Um, I hope that you all have been enjoying the more contemporary pieces from American literature. Um, I know that several of you were really enjoying Sylvia Plath and Anne Sexton, and so just seeing you all engage has been really a delight for me. Um, and so, kind of like to get us to the point where we're heading into our final, and our final will be reading like a whole work. So, I have to, before we like kind of get to that point where we're thinking through what we want to do with our final book, we're going to focus on contemporary Black legacy this week. So, for contemporary Black legacy, I wanted the heavy hitters. So I chose Zora Neale Hurston. We're bringing her back because she does have a lot of influence on some of the more contemporary Black authors like Alice Walker and Toni Morrison. And then we're annotating James Baldwin's "If Black language isn't a language," which is a fantastic piece that really gets into the heart of like how we see language and dialect as dividers in our country. Um, and so also we do also have right here the Nobel Prize acceptance speech by Toni Morrison and Recitative. This, I want to make sure everybody knows how important this is. It's one of those pieces that is very, very dense. So you have to listen to it, and you have to listen to the audio of Toni Morrison saying these words. It's absolutely stunning work, but if you don't listen to it, it kind of loses some of its value. So really enjoy it, listen to her words. And that would be an appropriate way for you to use AI, which would be to like help it coach you through what is happening in her speech, because there's so much metaphor and like biblical allusion going on there that it can be hard to follow sometimes. But I do want you to enjoy it because I think that this is one of the best pieces I've ever read in my life in regards to linguistics. So we're reading Zora Neale Hurston, Alice Walker, Toni Morrison, and then you get to choose either Clint Smith or Dennis Smith. And these are two of them, the more contemporary poets. So for the week's work, what you're going to be doing, there is a forum post here for Black Legacy. So the Black Legacy forum post, what we're looking for here is we're looking at a deep dive, which is on racial identification in recitative, or you can talk about everyday use, or you can talk about the Nobel lecture, or you can talk about Clint Smith. So you can kind of pick which one is vibing with you the most and dig in. The only thing I'm going to ask is that not only do you not use AI for this, but that you're going to respond to two of them, and you need to focus on depth and complexity and look at like specific moments in the text. Okay. So in addition to that, for our forum post, we've got our annotation. I see that several of you have already started on that. Thank you so much. Um, and then we have a Black author's body biography. And so body biographies are really interesting because they're a way to like take characters and kind of break them down into like an artistic representation of who they are as a literary work. And because we talk about like Black ownership, Black agency, and also like the Black body, a body biography really works really well here. There's additional information and templates on here, but really enjoy it, have fun with it, trace the changes, talk about like in your piece like what you're like referencing about the character and how it creates a whole person with a very complex view of the American identity. It's not a full project, it's like a sketch, but it gives you a really nice robust idea of like what kinds of characters we have at play here. Okay, so on that note, I want to go ahead and give you a little bit of context here on our Black authors. So here's our readings for the week. All right. So as to get you situated in the context of this week and like where we're going for the last part of the class, In the 1950s to present, we have this movement called postmodernism. And so a lot of our contemporary Black authors come out of this movement because it was a genre that shared collectively the nostalgia for the unattainable, which searches for new presentations, not in order to enjoy them, but in order to impart a stronger sense of the unrepresentable. Or to rewrite or represent the past in fiction is, in both cases, to open it up to the present to prevent it from being conclusive, which I find to be a very interesting stance to take. Call attention to those shared responsibilities which cross the boundaries of class, gender, race, and could be fertile ground for the construction of empathy and serve as a base for the solidarity of coalition. And so it's really interesting to just take a second and just think about what are Black authors really representing in a way that authors before them, specifically white authors, did not. And so to like kind of keep some of these tropes at play for postmodernism, especially when you read Morrison, but also Baldwin and also Walker, you have to think about like the narrative pace and how narrative pace is telling and revealing information in a way that the reader can process in a different way. So the constructed reality of the postmodern struggle is basically to find a form of self-definition for the Black man or woman that is not obedient reproduction of Western paranoia projects. And so when race determines the definition of a human, how can one truly have an identity? Which is a really interesting way to frame this week specifically. Um, so recitative, I have to introduce Morrison in the best way I know how, which is when she does the interview on Stephen Colbert.
Something about racism.
But then wouldn't I be a racist if I thought about racism?
Perhaps, but more important than that is there is no such thing as race. None.
Really?
There's just a human race, scientifically, anthropologically. Racism is a construct, a social construct, and it has benefits. It has money can be made off of it, and people who don't like themselves can feel better because of it. It can describe certain kinds of behavior that are wrong or misleading. So it has a social function, racism. But race can only be defined as a human being.
Okay, so
I love Toni Morrison so much because she just captures so much of like the power of language and how it represents a complex feeling of race in our country. All right, so I'm gonna skip through a couple of things, but like just some things to like keep in mind is like right here, we see here where Morrison is saying narrative has never been merely entertainment for me. It is, I believe, one of the principal ways in which we absorb knowledge. I hope you'll understand then why I begin these remarks with the opening phrase of what must be the oldest sentence in the world, once upon a time. And that's how she begins the Nobel Prize acceptance speech. So I hope you really enjoy her work. She's one of the most influential authors of the 20th century, I believe. Everyday Use by Alice Walker is the next piece that you're going to read. She was a prolific author of novels, short stories, poetry, essays. She's best known for The Color Purple. But Everyday Use is specifically a story that's about legacy and what does Black legacy look like in this day and age. So she focuses in on honoring the past and moving forward, and she also questions the who owns cultural heritage here, and how does the and I want you to also be thinking about how does the story's ending reflect the idea of cultural preservation, and it's this as they're creating these quilts and like creating this conversation piece. It's also an exploration of African American identity and heritage. And we also have women's empowerment and relationships. Um, and there's also conflict with intergeneration and the conversations around social and political activism. it has the mama who's the narrator, and we have an interesting point of view with her, Maggie, and Dee Wangaro, who are her two daughters. And they have both kind of changed directions in their lives. Maggie has stayed more traditional. Wangaro has gone to be a little bit more of like the liberal way. And so they have this like kind of clash between progressive values and like and then like are the conservative like what is it like to be black on a farmstead values, and just what that looks like for so many African Americans in the post Civil War South. And then you also have Zora. This is Zora. Zora Neale Hurston is one of my favorite authors of all time. She wrote the book Their Eyes Were Watching God. If that's one of the books that you're interested in reading, I just want to tell you it's one of the best of all time. Um, but Zora has another beautiful legacy. And this is a video that I would show you, but I don't think that I have time on this video. I need to wrap it up. Of like how much power and influence she had over the future Black authors like Clint Smith, like Alice Walker, like Toni Morris, and how she did this reclamation of language and identity in a way that had not been done before. And so there's an excerpt here from Their Eyes Were Watching God if you would like to read a little bit of it. But you're going to be reading Sweat by Zora Neale Hurston. This is also a really interesting piece, which is How It Feels to Be Colored Me. Um, let's see. I think that that's all that I've got here. Oh yeah, these are all my discussion questions for you all. This is a really fantastic poem called On What I Mean When I Say I'm Sharpening My Oyster Knife. So have fun if you would like to explore that. And so that's all for us for this week. So as you are navigating the rest of the week, let me know how I can help you as you're getting into our Black legacy. And also, you can take some time to explore what your before spring break project, which will be your American Argument multimodal project, will look like. And on that note, I hope you all have a wonderful evening. Take care, stay warm, stay safe. Bye.